Hispanics are causing panic, baby. Let's do it.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on Archive. D-Style Boxing, your host here. Make sure you chat my like button if you're listening on Archive right now. And if you're here live, check out this version of the show in audio form on Audio Boom. All right, iHeart and Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. All right, let me introduce the panel to you guys. Here we got Maestro A from Mano a Mano every Monday. Make sure you check him out and subscribe to his channel. Joe Habib, the one and the only from Ringside Reporter. Check out the show every Sunday. New start time, 6 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys, write that down on your calendar. Of course, the second half of HCP, which is the one and the only G Funky. Check out HCP Monday Night Uncensored, aka HCP is War, every Monday. Shout out to the chat, of course. Black and Brown Boxing, Jaeger, Manny Gatillo says that he is first. Toby Barlett and Boxer Girl on here. The GOAT says HCP on the big screen. How is it going, everybody? Make sure you hit the like button, share this video on all your social media platforms. And of course, we're joined by Nancy as well. She'll be on in a second. The Boxing Republic. Check her out on Women Crushing the Wednesdays on In the Ring with Christine every Wednesday. All right, let's get this one started. Impromptu show. We were not scheduled to come on, but hey, we come on every Thursday anyway, so we said, why not? And we'll try to set that up with the Boxing Voice on another day. Shout out to Ness and them. They're out there in Atlanta. All right. So, Tyson Fury took a stroll in the Vegas Strip. All right. Just walking around, doing nice things, taking pictures with the fans. It's nice to see that Tyson Fury is such a good, such a great role model, taking pictures with the fans, stopping by, doing the pose with them, stopping, doing the boxing pose for people. I've heard so many stories of celebrities, never taking pictures with their fans, being asshole to the fans. It's good to see that Tyson Fury is not an asshole when somebody asks him, to stand in front of them, breathe on them while in the middle of a pandemic. It's so nice of Tyson Fury to take that moment to shake hands with the fans and greet the fans. And, I don't know, maybe he's going to take a picture with one of the babies. I don't know. But, hey, Milcar, talk to us, brother. What do you think?
It's tough. What can I say? I've been really upset the last few hours. Joe schooled me on a few things that I was unaware of. And this entire, essentially, last few hours, I've just been going through my notes. I got a lot of notes here on Sefat Safari, why he was a decent opponent. I've got another number of notes here on why it was okay from the back out of the rematch with Vladimir Klitschko. I've got another one here on how you can make a legitimate argument that Otto Wallin and Tom Schwartz were legitimate defenses of the lineal heavyweight championship of the world. And one by one, guys, I've just been doing this all day, It's been nonstop shredding since I was on live with Joe Habib, and it's going to be continuing pretty much all night, and that's what I got for you guys so far.
Interesting. Joe Habib, what's going on, brother?
How you doing?
Your boy is out in Vegas, party, living it up, bro. It's good to see that he's living it up,
Yeah, I went to the Salvation Army today, and I wanted to donate my 2 Tyson Fury T-shirts, and They asked me, is that guy that tested positive for COVID and he's out in the route? He's the heavyweight champion. He was supposed to fight. I said, yeah, we don't want that. We don't want those shirts. So I couldn't even give them away. But, yeah, this is horrible. This is just horrible. It's a bad look. And when Tyson Fury did give his first speech since testing positive for COVID, all he did was thank ESPN for the ESPY that he didn't deserve. So he's supposed to be resting right now, relaxing. He had to pull out of the fight, but lo and behold, he's out there living it up, buying luxury cars or going to visit luxury car dealerships, going to casinos, going shopping. So, yeah, this is really a bad look for Tyson Fury, and it's really hard to be a Tyson Fury fan today after seeing all those pictures and, you know, all those fans that purchased plane tickets, all those fans that purchased, reserved hotels. Now everyone lost their money because of Tyson Fury's irresponsible behavior. So here we are.
We are where we are because of Fury. What do you make of it, Chief Funky? I mean, he's out here, you know. Hey, you want to sign my autograph? Oh, no problem. Hand me your pen. Yeah, here we go. All right, here you go, man. Like, you know what I mean? He's being such a good role model to all his fans. You know what I mean?
This is just, there's no other way to describe this man's behavior other than disgusting. Disgusting behavior, in my opinion. To go out there, he's tested positive for COVID, and he's out there mingling amongst people, spreading germs, spreading the virus around. It's still out there, guys. Let's not act like it's not. Over here in my city, they just brought back the mandate to have face coverings indoors now, everywhere you go. Because here in my city, it's spreading like crazy. The numbers are going back up really, really fast. So it's a real thing out there, man. And for this guy to be rolling around in the casinos, trying to buy or rent luxury cars, whatever the fuck he's doing, he needs to keep his ass at home. If he's really got COVID, you know, keep your ass at home. Do the right thing, man. Don't spread this shit around because it is dangerous and it does kill people, you know. Now, someone like him who's a professional athlete, who's in great shape, you know, it might not do a whole lot of damage to him, but, you know, you got to think about everybody else. What about other people who can't fight it off as well as you? You know, elderly people. Like, this is just flat out disgusting, man. And, you know, I agree with what Beat was saying earlier this morning. They should strip this guy for his behavior. Like, he's not representing the WBC the way a champion should by behaving this way during a pandemic. It's sickening, man. It really is sick.
Ooh-wee. Let me tell you guys some. All right? Tyson Fury, ladies and gentlemen. He's just walking around Vegas like it's nothing. Now there is some individuals out here saying that these are old photos. All right? That these are old pictures now. But here's the problem. All right? Here's the problem. So we know it wasn't around the time where they did the weigh-in because he had a beard. He only appeared shaven on camera since last week. Okay? As far as on camera. All right? That I know of. When he accepted his award for the ESPY, he was smoothly shaven. Smooth like a baby's bottom. He was shaven, smoothly shaven. Nice job, you know, nice razor job right there. And he also looked cleanly shaven on the photos that we saw. These were also posted by random Twitter accounts. Now, unless random Twitter accounts were posting old photos of Tyson Fury all at the same time, all of them when he's fully shaven, then hey. But here's the other problem. We all know that this is an ESPN fighter on this side of the pond, as they say in England. Mike Coppinger, who was recently employed by Habib,
ESPN,
just recently reported that, not to worry, everybody. I just came back from wiping my lips because I was kissing Tyson Fury's ass, right? And I got to tell you guys that, no, not to worry. Don't panic. Tyson Fury tested negative. He took another test, It just happened to be yesterday. You know what I mean? It just so happens that this wasn't released to the public to let people know that, hey, just an update, everybody. FYI, everybody. You know what I mean? Like, FYI. Why would Coppinger come out and try to do damage control? Beeb, why is this ESPN employee not falling back and letting other reporters take care of this? There's an obvious conflict of interest. You would think there'll be some journalistic integrity here. What's going on, Beeb?
Looks like damage control to me. It's so convenient that he releases it right after the day that people are all complaining about Tyson Fury being out and about in public. Everyone's roasting Tyson Fury right now, and lo and behold, soon as all that information gets out there and he catches wind of it, the ESPN damage control team sends Mike Coppinger out there, their new employee, right? Their new journalist who writes articles for them. Hey, Mike, why don't you go do a story and say Tyson Fury's all okay now? Get some of that heat off of him. We got a fight to promote, right? And, people are saying, oh, well, the photos are old. So people are just going to randomly, all at the same time, just decide, hey, I'm going to post a picture of Tyson Fury from a month ago today, this week. Why would they do that? What is the reasoning for all that? Oh, we're just going to post a picture from a month ago, 2 weeks ago, today. Again, why? It's no coincidence that Tyson Fury has had a beard all month, except for that time when he, up until the point where he did the ESPY, that ESPY Award, thanking ESPN for that ESPY Award, cleanly shaven in that video, and that was the first video. That's his first appearance, public appearance on camera.
Well, not to correct you, Joe. Last week he was shaven when he congratulated England on a game against Denmark or something like that.
Okay, so at the earliest, those pictures could have been last week, right? And he tested positive for COVID last week, right? So it wasn't like he was cleanly shaven a month ago, right? So he was cleanly shaven just recently, and coincidentally, those pictures showed him cleanly shaven. So how old could those pictures really be? I believe they're recent.
Absolutely. The most recent. You know what I mean? Nancy from the Boxing Republic. Check out every Wednesday in the ring with Christine. Women Crushing It Wednesday. So talk to us. What do you make of Tyson Fury strolling around the streets in Vegas, passing COVID? What do you think?
So I thought a lot about what you said last week, right? And how upsetting it is that the history he has of, like, if it's not true, it's disappointing, but he has this history of shenanigans. And I had some hope, and that went out the window with everything that came out, right? The only thing I was thinking about was, is it possible that he knew before his camp knew that he had tested positive, and then they tested again, and then he says, oh, I know I was tested positive 2 weeks ago or a week ago, but maybe hadn't told them, right? At this rate, with his history, we might believe that. And so then that kind of shortens the quarantine time, and that's why we have him out. I'm not trying to excuse the guy, but I was trying to figure out, how are people letting this happen? How did this happen? How is it possible that he's going out there? And that was like the only thing I could think of, is that maybe he had tested positive and he hadn't told his camp, he hadn't told anybody. So then when he had a test, and then it was public knowledge that he had tested positive, then he's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I tested positive a week ago. He could have done that. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I think overall, it's ridiculous, to be honest, watching him all over the place. And I just have to believe, again, in my heart of hearts, that hopefully that's what happened, and he was just, that quarantine expired and we just didn't know about it.
Hey, but Nancy, what you don't understand is the Coppinger came out and assured us all that he tested negative. Okay? We didn't know anything about it till after there were sightings of the dude. Okay, let me tell you something, everybody.
Yeah.
Citing Tyson Fury in the Vegas Strip isn't exactly like trying to find Bigfoot in the woods, okay? He's 6'9", okay? He wears the most ridiculous shit, like a blazer with no undershirt, okay? And he's bald as hell, so that you know that Nevada sun is shining off the top of his dome. So he's not that hard to find, all right? So it's not that hard to find the dude. So you got those pictures all over, but Nancy, like, don't worry about it. He tested negative though. ESPN's copies your set. What do you think?
So with him testing negative, I guess it's all over and we just put it behind us, or do we hold this against him? Because it just got everybody into a, no pun intended, a fury over him having tested positive. I don't know what to make of this, y'all. I'm just kind of tired of the drama. It's exhausting. It's not even boxing anymore. I think we've said it all week. It's just telenovelas now that we're watching with everything unfold. So all I know is that it's the fight is surely going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. People are speculating it's not going to happen. I feel like it is going to happen. And I guess we just move on from this COVID episode in the novela.
Well, we've got a date now. They say it's October 9th officially, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
so.
I'd seen that too, but people were still saying, yeah.
It says it right here. Look, see that?
No, sí, but I mean, people are still saying.
Which is.
Andan diciendo que no, it's still not going to happen. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Hey, look, but let me say this, just to take it around the panel here. So it has been rescheduled for October 9th. Top Rank put it out. Fury actually retweeted it and everything, okay? Right on time, by the way, because what a way to show somebody a shiny object in the middle of all this drama. You know what I mean? So I think it helped them out a little bit. So the fight has been definitely rescheduled. My question to the panel is, do you believe this fight's going to happen October 9th? Nancy, do you believe this fight's going to happen?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I think it's going to happen. There's still people questioning it. Like you said, they told us it's October 9th, and there's people that are still tercos and are saying, no, it's not going to happen. The world's over, and it's going to happen. It's a business deal. I think it's still going to happen. I mean, unless someone's willing to take a huge loss, in terms of money and legal fees and everything else that comes with breaking a contract, it's going to happen.
Okay. Hey, at the end of the day, that's a straight up answer. What about you, G Funky? Do you believe this fight will happen October 9th?
I do. It has to be done unless Fury just all of a sudden decides to retire or something like that. But, they had to go to court and fight this thing from at least from the Wilder side to get this third fight. So, yeah, it has to happen. And but I do feel like whatever it is going on here, if it's to try to get more attention to the fight or whatever, I actually feel like these kind of shenanigans from Fury, and you made a great point, Nancy. He's known for this stuff. See, a lot of the guys out there that are angry about this type of thing, they probably weren't watching boxing back then when he was pulling all this crap years ago, So, yeah, I do think it's going to happen, and we'll see. But I just don't like the way that they're using COVID to try to gain attention for the fight. That's just disgusting, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Shout out to Tony Boswell. I appreciate the support, brother. That super chat you sent to support Style Boxing Live. I definitely support everybody. Tony Boswell is a big supporter of ATP, and we definitely appreciate his support.
Tony.
Darius, I am King. I appreciate the support, brother, with that super chat. Shout out to Darius, I am King Irvin. At this point, I don't believe Fury ever tested positive. I don't believe he was ready for the 24th, and that's July 24th, and he is buying more time, he says. Amilcar, are we going to get this fight October 9th?
Well, I mean, I found some more notes here, D-Style. These are my detailed notes on why the Tyson Fury didn't avoid fighting Deontay Wilder after the first fight. And, that it was obviously false. So, I got to do what I did earlier, and we got to put those ones in there. Look, I'm done making excuses for Tyson Fury and justifying his behavior. I've been doing it for a long time. I've always tried to take a glass is half full approach when it comes to the Gypsy King. And I've come to the realization that the glass is pretty much 3/4 empty most of the time. It's unfortunate that the two guys that get the most publicity in the heavyweight division on this side of the Atlantic are two of the biggest clowns in the sport of boxing. And people have got to really start to take a better look at AJ, because AJ is actually the one who conducts himself the most professionally in the heavyweight division. He trains. He doesn't talk shit too much. He definitely backs up or defends himself, but he's not out there capping or telling all kind of fantastical stories about stuff. You know what I really think Tyson Fury needs to do? And I was watching a video today with his dad, John Fury. I think he needs to take the Danny Garcia approach and just shut up, go to the back of the scenes, and let his dad do all of the talking and let his dad take all of the attention. And when it comes back, I want to return to this thing about the COVID. I don't really care if he was tested negative. It's not a good look. You just had COVID. You know, I did a video on how Nevada's cases are spiking and hospitalizations are up, and that was likely the reason that he got COVID. Well, even if you did get COVID and have now recovered from it, you should be setting an example. You're the fucking heavyweight champion of the world. So, look, I'm with Joe. The days of me making all kind of, fantastic arguments to kind of justify things that he's done are over with. He's a clown. And honestly, I'm at a point right now where I'm with Chicano. I'm starting to care less and less and less about this third fight.
A shout out to New Media Today, USA Boxing, with that support and that super chat. Everybody subscribe to New Media Today, USA Boxing. It goes on every afternoon. Check out his show. Great content. He said, man, I don't think this fight will happen, to be honest. But I could be wrong. No one is afraid of anyone at this level, though. All right, that is a great point. Well said. Joe Habib, are we going to get this fight October 9th?
We will get this fight definitely on October 9th, unless Tyson Fury gets COVID again. So I think we'll get it.
Okay.
We should have the antibodies now, right?
That's like a painful laugh now. It's man. It is.
So,
it is. And if I may, Eric, just to comment to Maestro, because you mentioned how you're just kind of tired of trying to, defend. I even though I'm not a big fan, I was still trying to rationalize and think logically what could be happening, right? And also think logically, they're not going to put themselves in a position where they're going to be faking something, or again, because I keep going back to the reputation. But it's exhausting, right? At this point, it's just like a kid that you're just trying to control that keeps making all these mistakes, right? And you're absolutely right. I mean, Joshua is the one to look for. He's the one that's kind of staying, within the four corners he needs to stay in, and following the rules, being PC, like the whole thing, right, as best he can. So Fury was given a lot of credit for being entertaining. I even gave him some of the credit, right? Because he was the one drawing a lot of attention to the division, even if it was with his shenanigans. And, you do need some of that. But yeah, this is a little too far.
Let me tell you guys something. There's always something. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to sound legit. All right? But before I talk about October 9th, let me say this, right? Why do people get upset when Tyson Fury is questioned? Because if there's one thing I agree with Wilder extremists about, is that this guy lost the benefit of the doubt a long time ago. Now, I lost the benefit of the doubt before the Wilder thing was even a thing, all right? He lost it with me when he was scheduled to fight Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko was a reigning champion for many years, almost a decade. If anyone deserved a rematch, it was him. And he never gave him his rematch. Okay? Twice it got postponed. Then he pulled out. And then he gave us this story. It sounds very legit. Okay, I get it. But We all know it was the UCAT situation. That's why you really left, Tyson. Okay? Let's stop playing games. Will this fight happen October 9th? My answer is really simple. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen October 9th. Because Tyson Fury is too erratic. Next month, he could fall in a deep depression. He could just decide he doesn't want to do the fight and retire from the sport. He's done it before. Why wouldn't he do it again? There was a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money for the Klitschko rematch. And by the way, he dominated that Klitschko rematch, that fight. But people gave him a pass. Why? Because, why would he be scared? It's not about fear. It's not what it is. That's not what it's about. It's not that he's scared. It's just that I'm noticing a pattern with this guy. When he is the hunted and not the hunter, his whole demeanor, his energy is different. It's just different. There's just something different about the guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not motivated, man. Maybe he's like, you know what? I'm not up for this fight. Man, maybe that's why he was trying to get him. It doesn't have to be about fear. But he doesn't have a choice. You got to get up for it. You got to. If this fight doesn't happen October 9th, there should not be one person defending Fury. Not one. I don't care how legitimate the reason sounds. Like, I don't believe in this most unlucky person in the world theory. Nobody's that unlucky. Nobody has this many problems at the end of the day. All right? When he's the hunter, he never has a problem making the fights. He always shows up motivated. And he has a history of telling in an interview saying, after I won the heavyweight championship world, I felt empty. Like I felt like I had nothing else to do in the sport. After the first Wilder fight, he said the same thing. I just felt like I went through a deep depression. We don't know if this dude's going to be depressed next week. We don't know if he's just going to decide that I just don't want to do this anymore. We don't know if he's going to dress up as Batman and run around half naked in the streets of Vegas. We just don't know what he's going to do. Nobody knows what he's going to do. Anyone who pretends to know the next move of Fury is crazy and clearly, all right, is delusional. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what Fury's going to do next week. We cannot forecast this guy like that. But if it gets canceled, I'm not going to be shocked. And if it gets postponed again, believe me, I'm going to question it. Because what else am I supposed to do at this point? Mm-hmm. What else am I supposed to do? I don't even believe him. I don't believe that he, in good faith, negotiated with AJ. I don't believe he negotiated that fight in good faith. Because he didn't bother to take any of the COVID tests. But you were at the brink of making an agreement for this big, undisputed bout?
You mean the vaccines, right, D-Style?
The vaccine, I apologize. Yes, the vaccines. Yes. Absolutely. I just don't believe them. I don't believe that they negotiated that in good faith at all. Also, it was just, what was it, Monday that you interviewed Aaron?
I think it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday, actually.
So what's going on? Aaron was saying that he had symptoms on Monday.
Said he had symptoms, but he was feeling better. But he did not say he was free in the clear.
Oh, but now he's in the clear, right? Now he's free of COVID, according to Kopich.
Said he looked great in camp. A lot of people are saying that he needed more time to prepare for this fight. I mean, how much more time do you need? He's been out of the ring for 15 months. Is it gonna be any better by being out of the ring for 20 months? So if he's not ready now, will he ever be ready? If that's anyone's theory?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. And shout out to BN Boxing News for that super chat, brother. Fury didn't look good in camp and needed more time. Now, granted, Aram has said a lot of things, so I don't know if I want to take Aram's word. He is the promoter of Fury. He's going to say good things. You know what I mean? But there's just too many stories. First, I heard he was asymptomatic. Okay, then I heard he had symptoms, and now I heard he passed the second test. Right? I don't know about that. I'm just not buying it, and I think Coppinger needs to fall back, bro. There's too much conflict of interest there, bro. It's called journalistic integrity. All right, I'm just saying. Try a little harder, please.
Yeah, the timing. Right? The timing was just too convenient for that tweet.
Hey, I agree. But hey, anybody have any final thoughts on this Fury situation?
It's a downer, man. I'm just hoping we can get into something like Charlo and Castano later on. It's going to boost all of our spirits because the energy is low right now, man. I think people have had enough of this whole situation. I'm tired of Glovegate, and now I'm tired of COVID Gate, and I want to move on and talk about boxing.
I got a few things I got to say, man, before we move on. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy. You go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go off. I'll be brief. Okay. So yeah, because then that'd be a tough follow. So I think something you mentioned earlier that I mentioned last week too, right, is that there's so much responsibility on the promoter and everybody involved. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really disappointed on. And if you're a Fury fan, that's where your disappointment should be, because it should be coming from up top, and it starts with up top. And we're not getting that directly, and that's disappointing. That's really where we should be hearing the messaging from and the confirmation from. Like, how hard is it to answer a very black and white question? It's a yes or a no, period, right? And they answered that he was positive, but it wasn't a clear, right? Because there were still a lot of questions. I just think that they could have done better, right? And just leave you with this. Specifically, with this promoter. So it's not just this situation. I mean, there's just a lot going on right now in boxing, tied to a lot of the same people, that I think there's just not clarity, promotion, things that we should be getting. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just me.
Go ahead, you funky.
Well, I'm going to say this about Fury, all right? We've all said it because we're all fans of boxing. We've been watching boxing for a really long time. That's right. We know Fury pulls bullshit like this all the time. It's not a surprise to us. What is surprising to me more than anything is the fact that he would use the pandemic that so many people have lost their lives to. He's going to use that as a reason to pull these kind of games. Like, that is just sick and disgusting, man. But you know what? The funny thing is this, man. I see a lot of these Wilder fans pissed off, right? They're mad. They want to punch. They're punching the air right now because of Fury delaying the fight, whatever. But look, here's the thing. If you've been watching boxing as long as we have, then you would know that this is what this guy does. He does this shit all the time. So you know what? You got what you asked for. You wanted this fight so bad. You got what you fucking asked for, okay? And I don't want to hear none of that shit. You made your bed, sleep in it, okay? I've been on YouTube a long time, 10 years now. I've been subscribed to a lot of channels. I heard a lot of talk, man. And I remember before the first fight happened between these two, you guys remember when there was talks of AJ Wilder for Undisputed? You guys remember those talks?
Yeah.
I remember all these Wilder fans were saying shit like, why should he fight AJ? For what? AJ's a paper champion. Mm-hmm. Tyson Fury is the real champion. He never lost his belts. It didn't matter that he went and snorted a bunch of cocaine after he beat Klitschko. It didn't matter that he retired and gave up his belts. Nobody beat him in the ring. You guys justified him not fighting AJ and fighting Fury. That's what you guys were doing. So you guys should have fucking known this shit could have happened, all right? So you made your bed, sleep in it, man. I got receipts too on these guys. Don't think I'm just making shit up. I don't blow smoke, all right? Trust me, I got the receipts. I remember you guys justifying it. Nobody beat Fury for his belts. He's the real champion. That's the guy Wilder should be fighting, not AJ. Well, guess what? If you would have fought AJ, this shit would have never happened, right? So that's on you guys. I don't feel sorry for him at all.
Yeah, he had that opportunity to get the $120 million.
Really quick. Tony Boswell, I appreciate the support, brother. Have to give D-Style Boxing some respect. Fury is the hunted. He absolutely is. Go ahead, Amilcar.
No, just to jump on G Funky's point. And Coach Malachi made this point on his channel. It's like the same guys that were jumping up for joy, dancing all over the place, popping bottles when the AJ Fury fight fell through, are now like all upset at what has happened with this fight. It's like, guys, you can't have it both ways. And, Wilder did bring this about on to himself. It was an obvious cherry pick. He picked the recovering drug addict that had put on 150 pounds that was, recovering from alcoholism and depression and all kinds of stuff. He thought he was going to get an easy win over the lineal champion of the world who had never lost his titles in the ring. He turned down the $120 million bag from DAZN. They got rid of Lou DiBella, who was trying to facilitate that deal. And, the man's got a lot of egg on his face now, and the whole thing is pretty embarrassing. You know what I mean? So G-Funky's absolutely right.
While I get you guys his point, I get 100%, and not even that I disagree. I ain't letting Fury off no fucking hook. I don't want to deflect to the Wilder fans and what Wilder did. Or right now, the spotlight's on Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is out in Vegas, okay, walking around, okay. Joe told me this on the phone earlier. He's like, he's in casinos. Old people are playing on the slot machines and over there, brother. What are you doing? Oh, but Coppinger said this and he said that. But make no mistake about it. And I've said this, and it goes to your guys' point. To me, Tyson Fury lost the benefit of the doubt way back in 2016. That's when he lost the benefit of the doubt with me. All right? And I've been keeping it consistent with this guy ever since. And I'm telling you right now, I'm very skeptical of the fight on the night happening. I'm glad Milcard brought up AJ. I'm ready to buy my AJ gear. All right? I'm ready to buy my Anthony Joshua cap. Okay? I don't know, does he sell shades? I'll buy those too. Anthony Joshua all day, every day. Now, I want to go around really quick. Beeb, what do you make of, just real quick, guys, but what do you think of the ESPY Award for Boxer of the Year for Tyson Fury? What are your thoughts, and what does it say about the incompetence that ESPN has towards boxing?
Once again, it's just bias. It's just bias. It's a ridiculous person to give the award to because he hasn't even fought yet in 2021. So you got to give it to someone who at least fought in 2021. Why not give it to Canelo? Why not give it to someone else who actually fought? So I think it's ridiculous, and obviously it shows bias because he's an ESPN fighter. Again, we said this before. These networks are turning into PR people. They're turning into promoters, and that's not their job. They already got, they already give the money out for the fights, and obviously they're gonna promote the fight, but promote the fight. Don't promote the fighter when there's not a fight going on. Promote the fight that you're gonna broadcast. Don't promote the fighter. Don't cape for the fighter. He doesn't deserve the ESPY. There's no way.
Nancy, how do you feel about this ESPY Award winning Boxer of the Year?
I echo what Joe just said, and it makes me really want to know what parameters are used, in this process, because clearly it's not fighting. So what other intangibles are they looking for that would justify awarding him this is pretty much what I'm thinking about. And another good comment regarding, the PR piece. I really hate when that happens. And I can't tell you right now off the top of my head, but I know that there's been some instances historically where we've seen, some of these media channels that will pretty much promote the fighter, right? There's a difference too, y'all, because you can say, oh, well, you can highlight someone, and tell their story, tell their background. That's very different than giving somebody an award, like officially making them the best of the best for that time period. And I scratched my head. I thought, okay, so how does this work? Like, how far in arrears do they go to determine, and what criteria do they look at to determine that this is the winner? I really questioned it. At first, when I first saw it, I seriously thought it was just someone messing around, making a meme, and it was a joke.
Well said, well said. G-Funky, what do you make of it, brother? The fighter of the year, you know what I mean?
An absolute joke. And ESPN is pure dumpster juice for even having this guy nominated for fighter of the year. This is crazy, man. But what else do you expect from a joke of a company like ESPN? They're an absolute joke, man. I've been done with ESPN for years. I'm talking back in the early part of this the early 2000s when they were trying. They literally had analysts on the NBA side saying that Kobe Bryant was better than Michael Jordan, and he hadn't even played 10 years in the NBA yet, and they were saying he was better. Like, I mean, it's an absolute joke. They come up with the most nonsense stats to throw out there. Like, if you guys ever watch any other sports, they're like, yeah, this is the first time that a guy has ever scored a touchdown on a Tuesday night wearing purple shoes or some stupid thing like that. Like, they're just a joke, man, an absolute joke. And this does not surprise me, man. Fury, somebody in that office needs to get punched in the mouth for this, man, for real. This is crazy.
Hey, Loma has a higher connect percentage and power punches than Duran, right, Beeb?
That is correct. That is correct.
Let's ignore the fact that one dude has over 100 fights. You know, Maestro. Hey, let me tell you, man. From July 2020 to June 2021, the best fighter on the planet was Tyson Fury, brother.
Well, I mean, look, I'm a New York City public school teacher. We recognize the various New Years, so my first questions was, what year are we talking about? Are we starting it with Diwali and looking at the new moon, otherwise called Amavasya? Or are we doing what the Muslims do with Eid? Or maybe it's the Lunar New Year celebrated in China and Korea? Because I'm confused. I don't even know what year they're talking about. Because I can't, like, how long ago was it that Tyson Fury actually fought?
February
was it over
2020.
18 months ago? So
It's a leap
how
year
could he
celebration.
possibly be I don't know what year they're talking about. Or maybe it's Michael J. Fox Back to the Future, and you know the guys at ESPN are in a DeLorean, and I have no idea. The thing is so ridiculous. I mean, the first criteria, Nancy, is he a top-ranked fighter? Yes. Okay. Let's move on to criteria number 2. Does he make us a lot of money? Yes. Okay. Let's move on to criteria 3. How the fuck can we turn 18 months into a year and say that this guy is the best fighter? I don't know, because even if you're just looking at top-ranked fighters, there's so many more fighters you could point to. You could point to Teofimo Lopez. You could point to Josh Taylor. You could point to any number of guys that have had better years than Tyson Fury. So I don't know. Maybe it's based on who had the best year partying, or
absolutely
who did the best videos during the pandemic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Check this out, guys. Tyson Fury only had one fight this rolling year. Okay, he had one fight. I can't believe you guys didn't bring up the fight. Everybody knows about the fight. It was the biggest fight of all. The arbitration, which he lost. So this dude didn't even win the only fight he had. He lost the arbitration, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't even win that fight. And then he's losing the battle of the narratives. He's losing the PR battle to Deontay Wilder. He's losing the PR battle to a dude that blamed the suit, who had excuses about a glove. He's losing the PR battle to Wilder. What has he won? How the hell are you going to lose that PR battle? How the hell are you going to take that all that attention, all that pressure off Wilder and put it on yourself, dude? How do you accomplish that? That's amazing. Even dudes that were caping for you telling me, oh, D-Style, don't criticize him, wish him well, D-Style, he could die. What if he dies? Well, he ain't gonna die. It doesn't look to me like he's dying. Does it look to you like he's dying? Is he in his bed? Is this dude in this bed right now dying or some shit? I don't see the dude dying, right? I think it's gonna be okay. Dying, get the fuck out of here. Stop being over dramatic, people. Stop being over dramatic. He's gonna be okay. Right? I'm just saying. He's like the Tim McGraw song. Live like you were dying. Now he's living like he was dying, I guess. Right? I guess that's what he's doing. With that said, we're going to go ahead and proceed to the next topic. All right? I want to talk about Prograis. Got to tune into the 40th edition of the Roundtable. Hit my like button. Share this video on all your social media platforms. Prograis mad at PBC for broken promises. Says they failed to deliver Broner for him. He said he was promised Broner. He didn't get Broner. Yada, yada, yada. Make of it what you will. Joe Habib, I'll go to you first, brother. What do you make? The story, of course, on batleftook.com. You guys can catch the story there. He's upset at PBC. They failed to deliver on Broner. What are your thoughts?
Sounds like a little bit he say, she say. Just because a fight is proposed or it's talked about, unless you get it on paper, there's nothing guaranteed in this sport, you know? And remember, Christy Martin said that once about Don King. Anytime he put something in writing, you know, he always delivered for me. And Don King is the guy that always had the bad reputation. But, you know, when he put a, you know, pen to paper, he would follow through on these fights. So unless you got anything, you know, contractually binding agreement, then words are words. They're just that. So boxing doesn't work on handshake deals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Milcar, what are your thoughts, brother?
I think Joe just said it perfectly. I mean, did he have it in writing? If he didn't, it's literally not worth the paper it's not written on. I mean, people can make all kind of promises. That's number one. But then number two, I mean, you kind of got to fault Prograis here. Have you not followed the career of Adrian Broner? I think he might be the only person that's more erratic and more unpredictable than Tyson Fury. I mean, if you're basing your career around whether or not you're going to be fighting Adrian Broner, you're not really making good moves in the sport of boxing.
That's right. That's right. Nancy, talk to us. Prograis, he's upset. He really wanted that Broner fight. He claims they promised it to him and they failed to deliver.
Yeah, I go back to, y'all hear me talk a lot about, you know, the contractual business piece of this sport, right? In any sport. So maybe they were out having drinks and they're like, yeah, we'll get that for you, right? But that's not a contract, right? And I don't know if that's even a promise. But he took it as that, right? He took it as that, and he apparently also got, you know, Barrios and Broner, that's his complaint, that he had been promised both, and it didn't happen, so he's pissed off. And, you know, to some extent, let's assume that it's true, that there was a discussion and that they did say, listen, this is what we're going to work to make happen. We assure you that this is going to happen, right? So shame on his camp and him as well, because that's a moment when you really should start asking for something legitimate that would be, you know, a contract, some sort of written commitment, right? That will have the consequence if they fall through, right? So maybe it's not a monetary consequence. Maybe it's like, okay, well, if you don't make this fight happen, then we're going to make this fight happen, right? It's the negotiation piece. So, you know, it's disappointing. I don't know if it's true or not, but again, assuming that it's true, he really should have known better and asked for something written in commitment, right? So he went off on Al, he went off on everybody, and I also don't know what good that's going to do him, to be honest, right? So if he feels that they were already taking this away from him, and him going out there and bashing and getting pissed off, just like Keith Thurman went off on Bob Arum, you know, I understand he's not with Arum, but all of that hurts the fighter. Who's now going to want to do something for him if he's going to go put people on blast like that, especially if, let's say, it was true and it was a private conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So now more than before, they're not going to want to do anything for him.
Chief Funky, same question to you, brother.
Yeah, you know, again, this is not my strong point when it comes to covering boxing. I'm not a big guy that follows the business and contracts and things like that. But what I can say is this. I don't know where Prograis, where he was signed or who he was under prior to going to PBC. But if you left wherever you were at and you were fighting guys like Josh Taylor, and then now they're telling you're going to fight Broner and who was the other guy?
Barrios
and Barrios.
Barrios.
That's right. Barrios. Like
Barrios,
that made you that made you want to jump shift. Like I mean, Broner. Like I mean, I understand he's kind of a name still, I guess. I don't think he is anymore, though. I feel like nobody gives a fuck about Adrian Broner anymore as far as seeing him in the ring. You know, he looks like shit. His last 2-3 years he's been fighting. I never really liked Broner that much. I always felt like he was just kind of weird, and he's always trying to be funny when he's just not funny to me. I don't know, man. Like I don't understand why anybody would like how would that sway you to go over at, especially at 140 when there's a lot of good fighters on the other side. Like, yeah, we'll give you Broner and we'll give you Barrios. Like,
G-Funky.
I'm not taking that deal. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that does nothing for me at this point. Maybe it gives me a little payday with Broner, but that's it, you know?
G-Funky, the guy got sued for failing to pay a jewelry tab. I mean, look it up. He got sued for over $1 million because he took jewelry on credit and didn't pay for it. That's the guy that you're gonna sign your career to fight. I mean, it's crazy.
That's a stupid move, in my opinion.
You just can't go jewelry shopping with him. That's all.
That's right. Alexis says, great panel. We definitely appreciate. Alexis says, real quick. Alexis says, great panel. Thank you very much for the support. All right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. By the way, HLD, Boxco, Nando Llamas, Run PMC, Man in Water, everybody. Chicano, Prophet. Of course, a Prophet has graces with his presence. You know what this speaks to, by the way, and for all the guys that were telling me that, hey, Canelo just signed a 3-fight deal with PBC. I mean, look at you get Charlo, you get Spence, you look at everything you can get. Just sign it away. Just go ahead. Well, here you have a fighter saying they didn't give me shit. They didn't give me what they promised me. Now, to answer the question, you funky, because Adrian Broner is an easy payday. That's why. Easy money, easy breezy, beautiful color girl. That's why. You know what I mean?
You really think so at this point? I mean,
yes.
Yes, brother. Of course.
I mean, I wouldn't. Somebody would. Have
is he still a top fighter? No, but easy money, brother.
He's not good anymore. Like I said, somebody who had to actually pay me to watch this guy fight these days.
And by the way, I saw Prograis, by the way, at a strip club, making it rain on the people at the strip, not on the strippers, but on the people. Brother, like, don't do that. Like, there's a reason, like, guys like Bill Gates never do that. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do that. What are you doing? All right? Don't do that. But anyway, I mean, you can do what you want. It's your money, but I don't recommend that. Okay?
Please don't do that.
Right?
Please don't do that.
Please.
Jesus Christ. Stop. Please stop it.
Jeez.
Hey, I want to tell you about the shows really quick, guys. Every Sunday, of course, there's a Ringside Reporter with Joe Habib and Eric Lorda, so subscribe to Ringside Reporter. We also have Mano a Mano every Monday, followed by HCP Uncensored. Okay, a Mano is on Maestro A. He's right there. Okay, and of course, G-Funky and myself on Uncensored, G-Funky Boxing. Subscribe to his channel, right? Wednesday, we have Women Crushing It Wednesdays. Nancy's on that show, along with Christine and Boxer Girl and Nika and... they always have different girls on there as well, so shout out to them. And then followed by Power Punchers. That's on Calyx Boxing. Check out that show. There's a dude called D-Style there. I think you guys will like it. And of course, a Roundtable every Thursday, followed by a Roundtable Overtime sometimes. Okay, so shout out to all that, guys. With that said, Rigondeaux Casimero. There we have a triple header and everything. It's set, right? Shout out to Rigondeaux, by the way. I mean, he gets his step aside money, like, thank you very much. Okay. Like, oh, you're out of the fight. I mean, you still want me to fight him? What, you want this back? No, I didn't get this back, but you can give me this. Okay, thank you very much. All right. I'm rigging down. I'm getting a double check. That's what it's all about. Hey, this dude needed good karma, bro. Okay? He needed some good karma. He really did. If anybody needed good karma, it's this guy. All right? Maestro Casimero Rigondeaux. Man, what do you think about this fight, brother?
Well, I'm happy for it. I'm a big fan of Rigondeaux. He's one of the saddest stories, I think, in the time that I've been watching boxing. 2-time Olympic gold medalist, would have been a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, but defected, leaving the Cuban team in Brazil prior to, I believe it was a Pan Am Games, and ended up, through various back channels and various shady people in boxing, turning pro. And since then, he's had his opportunities and really shined. And he's had his haters like Dan Rafael and a bunch of others who consider him boring when he's not. And now he's a 40-year-old desperate for a big fight. I'm glad he's got it, because if he wins this fight, he can end his career possibly rematching Nonito or potentially taking on Inoue. Either of those two fights are huge fights for him. So it's a good karma, like you said, D-Style, to a guy that I think is really deserving of it. Hopefully he can end his career with a couple big wins, make enough money for him, for his family, and retire, and then we can look back at him and say some more nice things about him and his career, because right now his career has been tainted, unfortunately, because of guys like Bob Arum and Dan Rafael.
That's right. That's right. Chief Monkey. First of all, what do you make of the fact that it just fell in his lap again, this fight, after getting step aside money? And what do you think of the fight itself?
Hey, I'm happy for Rigo. You know, he's been around for some years. Like Maestro already said, he's been through a lot in boxing, and it's been unfair, you know, for him, the way that he's been treated through the media and his own promoter. But I'm happy for him that he's getting his money, and he's getting a good fight too. And in my opinion, this is a winnable fight for Rigo. I know he's getting up there in age, but to me, he still looks good. He still looks sharp. You know, he's definitely not as quick and sharp as he used to be. But I feel like he's still got enough tools in the bag to beat Casimero for sure. The Donaire fight, that would be interesting to see again after all these years, a rematch after he dominated him in the first fight. So I'm happy for Rigo, you know, and I hope that he does win this fight. I'll be rooting for him, you know, and shout out to all the Cubanos out there who are watching, you know, the Cuban people there. They're going through a lot of stuff. So, you know, we send our love and prayers to you guys out there.
Man, is Rigo going to be motivated? I'll tell you that right now. Nancy, talk to us. What do you make of this fight and how it fell back on his lap?
I first of all, that's what Casimero gets for talking shit about someone's wife. I just want to put that out there. You know, good for Rigo. He went ahead and gracefully stepped aside, right, when this happened, and he's like, you know, I'm gonna let these two go at it, you know, significant because of their culture, etc. And then here he is, and like it was said earlier, it's like he got his, you know, step aside money, and now he gets this fight, and it's going to be, you know, a good fight for him. So I think it's all good. Honestly, it's like high five. What a great win-win situation. He's the one that's just benefited from everything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Joe B, talk to us, brother. He took the step aside money, and now he's going to get another paycheck to fight.
I think it's a great opportunity for him. He's 40 years old. It's one last shot at a, you know, a big fight, big title for him, and it's do or die. I think the style matchup is great. He's the counter puncher, and he's going in there against the guy Casimero, who's the pressure, exciting type, offensive-minded fighter. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think you can argue this matchup would be just as good as the Donaire Casimero matchup. I think either fight was a can't miss. So I'm not disappointed that Rigondeaux stepped back in. I always thought it was a good fight from the beginning, and now that it's back on, I still think it's a good fight. It'll be interesting.
Hey, maybe somebody on here knows the answer to this question, but I've been seeing Rigondeaux tweet a lot about how clean he is as a fighter, and he had a tweet out, look, Donaire, I'm a clean fighter as well. Like, is he throwing shots at Donaire somehow or Casimero? Like, well, what's going on right there?
Maybe he's just trying to make a case for having a fight with Donaire again. Like, if you fight me, you ain't got to worry about this bullshit, you know?
Yeah, I think there he's just trying to, like, protect the brand and say, hey, I'm one of those that's for this, just so you know. So it would be an easy deal with me. You wouldn't have to worry about that. You know, I'm completely for, you know, the testing. I think it's just him. I don't think it was him, like, trying to start shit or anything like that. I think it's just him trying to put it out there, like I'm still available, and guess what? I play your games. So
shout out to Shoe Shine. We have a day for the 408 tuning in to the round table. Shout out to him. He says that if Rigo is 40, he's 22. All right. I don't think it's that far off, guys. It's still a funny joke though, but it's I don't think it's that far off. You know what I mean? Look, I'm happy for Rigo. I wonder, do you guys think they try to tell him, or maybe they did, I don't know, but you think they try to void the step-aside check? Can they do that? Can they void the step-aside check if the fight didn't happen?
No, maybe
they can't.
cashed it
I don't
already.
think they can.
He cashed that shit.
Cashed that shit already, man.
Look,
no,
I'm
I seriously doubt that was. I seriously doubt that was like conditional in any way, especially because you wouldn't have known the outcome of the fight, right? Had it happened. So I don't think that it was conditional, and I don't think that he needs to give that back. I wouldn't see that happening.
That's right. That's right. Shout out to Tyson Fury, right? Just shout out to him. I just wanted to give him a shout out. All right. With that said, guys, to kind of go to the next topic here. All right. I know a lot of people are not going to like to hear this name, but it is what it is. Okay. If you don't like to hear it, you don't like to hear it. I don't know what else to tell you, but Jake Paul says he wants to fight Canelo within 2 years, he said. In 2 to 3 years, I'm ready. I mean, look at who he's fighting, he said. This was on Undisputed on Fox, by the way, with Skip and Shannon. The guy literally goes, I mean, nobody believed in me when I fought that basketball player, right? He was a dunk champion. They said he was an athlete. Nobody believed in me then. But look, I shocked the world, he said. Nobody thought I could beat a fighter in Askren, and I beat him. And now everybody wants to doubt me, saying I can't beat Canelo in a fight. All right? He also said in 2 years he'll be ready. And he's already better than Yildrim. And get this, he's already better than Billy Joe Saunders. Right? I mean, and Smith only threw like 2 punches in the fight, he said. You know what I mean? I'm a better fighter. Nancy, 2 questions. What are your general thoughts on that? But also, does this bother you? I see a lot of boxing fans, or not bothered, but annoyed. Does he annoy you? Does he get on your nerves? You know, like, is it too much at this point for you? Like, or do you like it? Do you find it entertaining? Or how do you feel about it?
Is it too? So, I don't know that I'm annoyed, but I think it is a little too much. Like, se cansa uno, you know?
Okay. And what are your thoughts on everything he said? I mean, he said he's 2 years, he's ready for Canelo. You know what I mean?
You know what? It's because I just got so frustrated with that. That's why I'm like, I get a little me fastidio, because I'm so tired. I'm frustrated, but it's not even frustration anymore. I'm just like, why is he going on about all of this? And why are people paying attention? And I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and I'm just one of those viejitas that like complains about stuff. I'm just done with it, really, to be honest.
I got you. Show Habib, how do you feel about it all, brother? Like, how are you feeling about it? What are your overall thoughts about what he said?
I think it would be a great matchup. No, I'm only kidding. He's a troll, man. He's a troll. I mean, I don't think he takes himself serious. He's just trying to get a reaction out of people, and more often than not, he does, right? So he's just doing what he normally does and being who he really is, right? He's a troll. Simple and plain. Does it bother me? No. I get a kick out of it. I laugh my ass off. It doesn't bother me one bit. I love it.
Hey, Chief Funky.
Yes, sir.
What are your overall thoughts about everything he said? But also, does he bother you? Or are you indifferent about it? Do you like it? How do you feel about it, brother?
It doesn't bother me because I know he's just talking shit, you know? There's no way he's going to fight Canelo. There's no way he would even fight the guys who he said he's better than in Saunders or Yildrim. Like, those dudes will beat the living piss out of him in a boxing match. It wouldn't even be close. So, no, it doesn't bother me. He's just doing what he does, and that's just this weird younger generation. They like this type of shit, you know? Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know what it is, but I don't pay it no mind, man. I don't. That's why I don't cover this guy on my channel. I have not made a video about Jake Paul or Logan Paul. I have no interest in it because I cover boxing, and these guys aren't real boxers to me. Until they get in there with a guy who's a real trained professional boxer, then I might decide to talk about him. But until then, you want to keep fighting these old, washed-up MMA dudes and old basketball dunk champions. Like, it's not worth my time. I'm sorry, it's just not. And he'll get. I mean, Canelo will beat the fuck out of this kid if it ever happens. Like, I mean, just like I said, it doesn't bother me at all. I just don't pay attention to it.
It's a great matchup.
Milcar, what are your overall thoughts about what he said, bro? He said he's better than Smith, Billy Joe, and Yildrim. Okay, and he said, that 2 years. He could take Canelo. He's going to take him down. And don't doubt him, because everybody doubted him when they said he couldn't beat the dunk champion. All right?
Well, I'm going to try to be fair, because it would be very easy for me just to go in on him for what he said. And I'm just going to take it from the perspective of an elite athlete. And I'm not saying he is an elite athlete, but elite athletes literally believe that about themselves. I remember Mike Tyson before someone asked him a question because I believe it was Deontay Wilder said that he'd knock out Mike Tyson, and they were expecting him to say, oh, yeah, no, he thinks he could knock me out. Well, I'd knock him out. But his reaction was actually, nah, he actually should think that he could do that. I mean, if you're going to actually get into boxing, which is a dangerous sport, and really want to achieve anything in it, you have to believe at a certain level that you are going to be great. And part of that is not putting a ceiling on, where you can go, and believing that you can accomplish something that everyone thinks that you can. Do I think he's going to do that? Absolutely not. Do I think he probably needs to believe those kind of things psychologically to give everything that he can in training? I think that he probably does. And, he is what he is. He's got a super padded record. His first fight was against a guy that doesn't even look like he's an athlete, Addison Gibb, a video game playing streamer. His second fight was Nate Robinson, who people thought would win just because of the fact that he's black and used to play in the NBA. I mean, how could he possibly lose to a white boy influencer? Apparently he didn't train. I think had he trained, he probably would have beat Jake Paul, but apparently he didn't train at all. And then his third fight was against a guy, again, who did zero training, admittedly, by his own admission, in Ben Askren. So it's an extremely padded record. How he could think that he could go from that to a Canelo or a Smith or even a Yildrim is obviously crazy, but you got to tell yourself crazy things if you're going to put in that kind of work in the gym.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's why I just take a breath. I had an extensive conversation about the Paul brothers with somebody, and it was just such a frustrating conversation that honestly it exhausted me that I am done, because there's the people that say, okay, well, they're bringing in the money, they're bringing all these new fans. And I get that, right? I get that. I've seen a lot of new fans come in. Some of them will stick and some of them won't, right? The majority won't. So he's trying to stay relevant in this sport by making the comments that he's making, by making ridiculous claims, especially when he's making them against Canelo. I mean, come on now. And then to Maestro's earlier point, when he was in the conference or whatever that video was, he was talking about pretty much bragging about him being a basketball player in the sport of boxing. I mean, let that sink in, right? He's bragging about being a basketball player in boxing. And that to him is reason enough to take down Canelo. Come on now.
Look, I know the guy's trolling. He's been a professional troll on the internet for a long time. I could say this, being as successful as both the Paul brothers are on YouTube, there ain't no way they're stupid. So there ain't no way he believes what he's saying. They can't be that successful if they're stupid, right? Now, is it possible? Maybe, but I just don't think that's what it is. He ain't going to fight no Canelo, because if he could, he would have already, instead of fighting this MMA dude, he would have fought a real top 10, 168 pounder and showed that he could beat him. And then we could start talking. You know what I mean? I'm sure Yildrim will take the payday, brother. Okay? I am sure. And that's another great point. We're going to touch on that in a little bit. But I am sure Yildrim will fight you, brother. If you really think you could beat Yildrim, because he was talking about him he's just, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of CM Punk before he fought, Mickey, I forget his first name, Mickey Gall, right? And Mickey Gall told him, man, I have 2 professional fights. I have an amateur career. All you've done is WWE. How the hell are you thinking to fight me? And CM literally looked at him and said, yeah, but you beat a bunch of tomato cans. Who are those guys? Right? Yeah, well, what happened? I don't think we should put him in there with Canelo, but I do believe boxing is to make an example out of Jake Paul, as harsh as that sounds. It needs to make an example out of Jake Paul, just like MMA did with CM Punk and even like James Toney. We need to just make an example out of this because you don't play boxing. We have boxers that have lost their life doing this. We have boxers fighting for their life in hospitals doing this. This isn't a game, dude. It's not a game.
This is true.
So, like, it's time. We need to make an example out of somebody so they could stop playing boxing.
Can I make a quick point, though?
It's only, of course, yeah, go ahead.
This is all true, but one thing I will say that Jake Paul has said that I kind of agree with, and it was in his back and forth with Tommy Fury, is that, look, you're criticizing my opponents. I mean, your first opponent was 10-102. That's not hyperbole. Go look it up on BoxRec. His second opponent, Tommy Fury, was 0-26. His third opponent was 2-26. His fourth opponent was actually a lot better than those other guys. He was 0-11. And his step-up fight was against a guy that was 0-9. So,
good point.
It's nothing new in boxing. Guys have been padding their records with nondescript opponents. I remember when Jeff Lacey was coming up, Francisco Bojada was coming up. They were just destroying guys.
Good point, but I don't want to lose my thoughts on the card. Like, good point, but let me cook, brother. Let me cook, brother. Please, brother. Like, you know what I mean? But let's check it out, okay? You don't play boxing. Right now, we have cards with, we got like YouTubers or Instagram dudes versus TikTok guys, and they're doing all these cards. And they have headgear, but guess what? They're throwing punches at each other. It's only a matter of time if somebody seriously gets hurt. It's only a matter of time. And maybe that's when the shit's going to end, right? But it's actually making our sport look bad, all right? It really is that people are playing it. Like it's just like, oh, this is fun. Look, we're getting more attention than the pros do. All right? So I'm going to be 100% frank. I understand what Jake Paul's doing. I appreciate the seriousness because despite what you see, like with these stupid interviews, he is taking it serious. He has a professional trainer who used to be a fighter in BJ Flores. He's taking it serious. All right? So it's not that he's not taking it serious, but somebody just said it. Jake Paul against Chavez Jr. All right, we might get that next. I don't know, but I just wanted to kind of touch on that. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, whoever, let me tell you, any commission that approves Jake Paul versus Canelo needs to be arrested immediately. All right, that shit ain't gonna happen. It's a massacre, bro. It's not a fight. That's an execution. Okay, I'm just saying. With that said, speaking of Jake Paul and Woodley, all right, Amanda Serrano is going to be on the undercard of that fight, all right? She's going to be defending her strap. I think it's a unification. I believe it might be undisputed, but she's going to be fighting on that card, all right? And I want to know what you guys think about this. Well, what do you think about that? Because there's a lot of women like Clarissa Shields, for example, they don't want to fight on the undercard. I'm a main eventer. Like, I shouldn't be on the undercard of these men. Like, treat me equal, yada, yada. We get all that, right? Beep, what do you think of this move? About her, maybe humbling herself a little bit and saying, this is going to give me exposure. I'll be on the undercard of Woodley versus this dude over here.
I don't think it's a bad move, but it's kind of weird that she'd want to be on the undercard of this fight, but she didn't want to fight Katie Taylor. So that kind of confuses me a little bit, but I don't think it's a bad move, but I do think that there were better moves out there for her, particularly the Katie Taylor fight. So
speaking of Katie Taylor, I'm glad you mentioned her name. She's going to be fighting Han. Okay, that's going to be on the undercard of Lara Warrington 2. Does that surprise you that she's going to be on the undercard of that fight, babe?
Yeah, because Katie Taylor's been headlining and she's been doing great. So why not let her headline? I'm a huge Katie Taylor fan. Huge.
Okay. So I think that should be the main event. She should be the main event?
I would say so, yeah. I would say so.
Milcar, what do you make of these two women? Katie Taylor on one card, Amanda Serrano on the other card. They're going to be on the undercards of these events, right? We have other women like Chris Shields. They don't want to be on the undercard of fights. That's why they're going MMA, because they don't get treated equally. But in this case, it looks like they're taking a different approach. Well, what do you make of these two different situations? Katie Taylor, Lara Warrington on the undercard, and Amanda Serrano on the undercard of the Woodley Logan Paul fight. Or
Well,
Paul,
I'll go with the Paul Woodley Paul fight first. This is obviously the counter argument to those who say that the Paul brothers are bad for boxing, because the counter argument is, well, they bring a lot of eyeballs to the sport, and more importantly, they provide financial opportunities for fighters who otherwise would not get these financial opportunities. Now, when it comes to Katie Taylor Serrano, like, that's a fight that should be taking place. I mean, it's bad enough that we don't have fights between top tier opponents in men's boxing. I mean, when you have two women that fight within the same landscape generally in terms of weight divisions, I mean, what the hell is the excuse? I mean, there's so few women elite fighters to begin with. And oftentimes what you'll have one elite fighter way at this end of the weight divisions, another one way at this end of the weight divisions. Think of Christy Martin and Layla Ali, right, when I was a kid. And obviously that's a difficult fight to make. Why is this fight not happening? I mean, there's no excuse. I mean, there should be zero streets in female boxing. I mean, there should be one avenue, and all roads should lead to these big fights. I mean, it makes no sense at all. I agree with Joe Habib 100%.
My apologies, I was muted. Nancy, what do you make of it?
So I won't touch on the Paul fight because I think we already know how I feel about all that. But specifically when it comes to women's boxing, you know, I've been very upfront with sharing with folks that I am not, I haven't historically followed women's boxing. You know, I don't think any which way about it. I'm not saying that it's, you know, something we shouldn't be watching. I just never did. I didn't grow up watching them. I didn't, but I have as of late.
No, I just said, you didn't watch some women. That's all.
Oh, I thought, I'm like, oh, shoot, what I do? No, so I haven't, but I have as of late. And I do see that, first of all, of course, we all know they don't have the same following, right? And it's great what Clarissa Shields did. You know, definitely, you know, representing the women in getting it done the way that she did. But, you know, for everybody else, though, I think there's still a lot of work to be done, and it's getting done. You know, specifically with, you know, Seniesa, I really enjoyed that fight. And honestly, I thought that was awesome that it was on the undercard. I wouldn't even have a problem with it being a co-main event. So I think that they're getting there because they're winning people over like me, I think, that, you know, historically just wouldn't watch, and now I'm watching. So I have no problem with it. I think it's a good idea. At the end of the day, you know, I think that this is an opportunity for them to be on these cards and really prove themselves that they are just as good at entertaining fans and giving a good fight as they are, you know, really good fighters.
All right. Hey, Chief Funky, talk to us, brother. What do you make of these two girls being on undercards? Now, Coach Katie Taylor and the Warrington Lara 2 fight. Lara, of course, pulled out that big upset a couple months ago. They're going to be rematching. Now, Katie Taylor's going to be an undercard of that fight, right? And then, of course, Serrano's going to be on an undercard of Woodley against Jake Paul. Do you see both different? And what is your overall thoughts on that?
I do see both different. Katie Taylor, as much as I like her, I'm right there with you, Beeb. But I don't know if she's, you know, quite moving the needle like that to be the main event, especially on a card where there's a rematch like this where a lot of people didn't expect Lara to win the fight. So there's going to be a lot of Warrington fans that are like, well, you know, we're going to get him this time, you know. So maybe if it was on a different card, she might be the headliner, but I don't know about this particular card. But I do love her, man. She's very skilled. And, you know, I like to see her fight every time she does get in the ring. Now, as far as the Serrano and fighting under the Woodley and Paul undercard, like, I mean, it's frustrating because I feel like the excuse for a lot of people is this, like, well, if you fight on the same card as one of these goofballs, you know, that have all these kids following them and stuff, you know, there'll be more eyes on fighters and it's more exposure for the fighters. I mean, honestly, I don't know if that's true because I have to say that probably 90% of the people or even more than that, who are buying the pay-per-view for a Jake Paul fight, whoever he's fighting, they're buying it strictly for him. They want to see him fight. Like, they have no interest in learning about boxing, learning about who's on the undercard. I don't think that they do. I don't think they really give a shit about boxing. They're strictly there to see the guy that they are fans of, and that is Jake Paul or whoever, Logan Paul, whoever it is, either one of those guys. So, I mean, if you want to get a payday, I guess, to fight on Triller or whatever it is, well, he's fighting under PBC now, right, or a Showtime or something. I don't know. Either way,
Showtime.
Yeah. Either way, I don't feel like it's really helping gain new fans. I just don't. I feel like they're strictly there just for him, and that's it. So I would not advise any of my fighters to fight on the undercard of this guy. You know.
You make a good point, because I was looking at it from the perspective of visibility, and any visibility, especially I think in women's boxing, as they're looking, to be more headliner, type of fights. That's good visibility. Any type of visibility is good visibility. But you make a good point, G Funky, that at the end of the day, because I'm not going to be watching, right? So I just contradicted what I said earlier, but they do need to really consider any opportunity that comes their way. And in this case, again, you're going to have the casuals, you're going to have some of the real fans that are just going to watch for the entertainment factor, and they might, gain a few from there. And if you look at it, I mean, that's more than maybe what they had prior. But you make a good point.
Absolutely. So look, I think taking the opportunity to be on the undercard should work. I don't know why Katie Taylor's on the undercard of the Lara Warrington. If Matchroom doesn't feel that Warrington Lara should be on the undercard, they should have just put Katie Taylor on a different card. But I mean, I won't complain. I mean, as a boxing fan, I'll get both fights on the same card, so it is what it is. So I could see it from that perspective, and I think it says a lot about Katie Taylor, right? So look at it this way: Katie Taylor has been on the undercard of Anthony Joshua fights. Okay, she's been on the undercard, and now it's going to be of this fight, of course. Okay, she's been on the undercard of other fights, even like Povetkin White. Okay, and she's the highest paid women fighter on the planet. That's including MMA, right? 1.5 million, right? Ain't nobody else making guaranteed money like that, like Katie Taylor is. Okay. Now, the reason Amanda Serrano didn't get her fight because she was asking for way too much money. Like, they were just asking for too much money. And then they tried to make the fight anyway. Katie Taylor was going to take a pay cut to make it happen. And for some reason, it didn't happen. All right? So, hopefully, we do get that fight. But Amanda Serrano, I think it's a good move, too. Because guess what? They're going to watch this. Like, where would you rather fight? On the undercard of this event or on UFC Fight Pass? All right? I mean, let's be honest here. Like, I think this is a good move for her. And I think this is the model. I think this is the what a lot of women need to look at. Okay, be on the co-main events. Be on the undercard of these big cards. You could get it so you could get attention. The Clarissa Shields way obviously hasn't worked. Oh, I'm going to be the main event. You know what? I'm going to do my own pay-per-view, and I'm going to be the headliner. Well, how did that work out? Okay, how did that work out? It hasn't worked out yet. I want to be in the main event of every card I'm on. Well, how has that worked out for Clarissa Shields? It hasn't worked out. It just hasn't. What's going on, Calix?
What's up with you?
Chilling, brother.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Do you have any quick take on Amanda Serrano being on the undercard of Woodley, Paul, and Katie Taylor on the undercard of Lara Warrington?
Oh, I love it. And Serrano's been very gracious and happy about it, so I just agree with her. You know, it's a great thing. It gives much needed exposure, and I agree with everything you just said. And full transparency, I'm just getting into watching female boxing because of people like y'all and Ring IQ Boxing and having exposure to it. And what I found is I should have got into it earlier because I watched Estrada a couple weeks ago look very skilled, extremely skilled, and I wasn't expecting that. You know, I got to be quite honest. I wasn't expecting getting into female boxing. Watching it, I was expecting slugfest and not much technical ability. I've been surprisingly wrong. Michaela Meyer, I saw the same thing with her, the fight out in El Paso last month. That was a very good fight. So been very pleasantly surprised, and it's a good thing, man. It's a good thing.
No, that was actually Esparza in El Paso, but still, yeah, that was definitely a great fight.
Right.
Sure.
The Meyer fight was after that. A couple weeks after that.
Absolutely. So far, the poll, we have 82 votes. Fury versus Wilder 3. Will it happen? I'll close that at the end of the show, but right now we're 60% yes, 40% no. All right? Now, here's the next topic, guys, to proceed here. Jojo Diaz, he says he wants Devin Haney next. So I'm going to do everything I can to make this fight happen. Devin Haney was tweeting about him. The dude said, excuse my language, okay? Shut the fuck up, pussy. Well, let's make the fight happen by the end of the year. Like, that's what he said, bro. Jojo Diaz means business, right? And he says, hey, I'll do the Devin Haney fight. Let's go. Nancy, I'll start with you. Well, what do you make of it?
You know what? Make it happen. I'm good. I want to watch it. After watching the JoJo that I watched on Friday, I'll see that. I want to see that. And you know what? I'll be Team JoJo for that. And good for him. You know, he's pumped up. He had a good fight. He was talking a lot prior to his fight about, you know, him changing and all the changes that he made, you know, gets the win. So he's pumped. So he's going to call out people, and good for him if this happens. I think it's a good fight.
Absolutely. J Funky, what do you make of it, brother? He's calling him out hard.
I like the Devin Haney fight. It's a good fight for both guys, especially Devin Haney, who needs a young prime fighter on his resume. You know, he's got a couple of old veterans that he was supposed to beat. Ran into some trouble late into his last fight with Linares. So I would like to see him in there with a guy like JoJo. I'm also hearing rumors that the Mayweather team have been trying to get at JoJo as well for a Tank fight. Now, that's another topic. I don't want to get involved in that, but it'll be yet again another fight that nobody wants to see Tank fight, you know? So it wouldn't surprise me if that fight happens next, but I would much rather see the Haney fight, to be honest with you.
All right. Okay. Hey, Calix, what do you make of JoJo in a strong language saying, okay, Andy, you called me out, let's do it then. I'm going to do everything I can to make this fight. So be ready, quote unquote, P words and all that other stuff.
And we talked about this yesterday. I'm very happy with the energy that Jojo Diaz is going to bring to 135, a division where a lot of the top fighters are finding ways around each other. So I like this fight, obviously. It's a fight that Haney would rather than some of the other top guys, right? Because Diaz is a guy coming up in weight who not as big of a puncher as Teofimo Lopez or Ryan Garcia possibly. But honestly, I would rather see Jojo Diaz versus Ryan Garcia out in L.A. That's the fight I want to see right now. I'd rather see that than the Devin Haney fight at the Staples. I think it was sellout Staples. Be good trash talk back and forth before the fight, and a hell of a fight. But one thing on the Tank Davis thing, I think what happened with Tank Davis is Jojo Diaz said that he wasn't going to be ready until November. He said that on Twitter. So after that, like the day after, Tank Davis's team came out and they're starting to put out stuff that they are exploring a fight with possibly fighting Jojo Diaz in October, knowing that he's probably not going to be ready for October. So I think they're just setting it up to where they can put it out there that they wanted to fight Jojo Diaz and the fight couldn't be made because Jojo Diaz wasn't ready for October. I'm just throwing that out there. That would be in line with what we've seen from Tank Davis up to this point.
Okay. All right. Well said. All right. And look, let me tell you something, man. I agree with a lot of what's being said here. Shout out to Knockouts with Nika. Shout out to Box Girl G Funky in the chat as well. Coco, the Dawn Boxing Channel. Boxer on here says, when is Tank going to fight a top 3 fighter? He's asking, well, it's another topic for another day. Okay?
Win!
Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, why does, you know, Zerto have a man bun and braids and a cowboy hat, right? I don't know, you know, but hey, Maestro, talk to us, brother. You saw what he said? He said, hey, pussy, you be ready, he said.
Well, I don't, necessarily know if that's how I would have put it in those terms, but I got to give JoJo credit because last week I said that if he could take Fortuna's punch and get busy on the inside, he'd win the fight, and he proved that he can take a punch from a legit guy who can punch at 135, and he did that. So I cannot discount his chances against most guys at 135. And that includes Devin Haney. And that honestly even includes Tank Davis, if I'm going to keep it real with you, because we have not really seen Tank Davis test himself against the best opposition. So we don't necessarily know how well he'd fare against the Jojo Diaz. With all due respect to G-Funky's guy who trains over there in Northern California, Mario Barrios. I know G-Funky's a huge fan of that particular fighter. Now, Devin Haney, I think, is arguably one of the boogeymen in the sport of boxing. And that might sound crazy, but Lomachenko didn't want to fight him. Ryan Garcia didn't want to fight him. Linares fought him, but Linares fights everybody. And he can't seem to get a fight against a major guy at 135 pounds. And major, I mean the likes of the kind of names I was just mentioning. Teofimo Lopez says he'd fight him, but obviously he has to get through Gambosis Jr., and we know that Teofimo will fight pretty much anybody. But Ryan Garcia didn't want to fight Devin Haney. That's a fact. Lomachenko did not want to fight Devin Haney. That's a fact. So, look, if Devin Haney can get a fight with Jojo Diaz, who earned the right to fight him, all credit to Jojo Diaz for taking the fight. All credit to Devin Haney for wanting the fight as well and taking it. It's a fight that I would like to see. I think it would be a very good fight at 135 pounds.
All right. Joe Habib, what do you make of this new Jojo Diaz? He's talking trash. He's throwing out P words and F words and all these other words, and he's saying he's down to fight Devin Haney. What do you think of that matchup, brother?
Well, people who are very critical of Devin Haney's style, they think he's a safety-first fighter. But if he fights Jojo Diaz, he'll be forced to fight. Jojo Diaz will bring it to him. He will bring the pressure. It'll be an interesting fight. But I think that the Tank fight is interesting as well, and probably would be a bigger money fight for Jojo Diaz. But we'll see. I mean, Devin Haney's been on the zone. Jojo Diaz has been on the zone. So maybe it's an easier fight to make. But every time Devin Haney's name is mentioned in a potential big fight or a competitive fight on paper, it always seems to fall through. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed with this one. Jojo Diaz versus either guy I don't hate. But, yeah, this would be a great fight.
All right. Well, hey, I'll tell you what. I have a feeling it's going to happen because every time Jojo wants a fight, he makes it happen. You know, everybody was laughing like, "Oh, okay, bro, you're going to fight Fortuna," and then the shit got done within days. You know what I mean? The fight got done quick. So I believe him. You know, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know about Haney being the boogeyman now. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? I don't know if dudes are scared of him because let me tell you something. You know, I remember Bill Haney on the Boxing Voice with Samsung there, and he told him, "Hey, pay us the same as you paid Gamboa, and we'll make the fight for Fortuna Haney." And he said right there, he said, "Okay, let's do it." The fight never happened. I asked Bill Haney on D. Jefferson's channel what happened to that. He acted like he didn't know what I said. Apparently, I was speaking Chinese or something. Like he didn't understand what I was saying. All right. So you know, it's not like nobody. I mean, you know, he was raising his hand and saying, "Ooh, pick me. Anybody? Ooh, me." He wasn't picking him. You know what I mean? So we're going to see this fight happens for sure. You know what I mean? No. The boogeyman, like for real, Milcar, the boogeyman of the division?
Well, the boogeyman.
I thought he was Devin. I thought he was like Devin the Hugster Haney from the. I'm sorry, Maestro.
Oh,
I thought he was Devin the Hugster Haney. Wasn't that Huggies Haney? No.
He was giving out free hugs that night. Okay?
I know.
Should I do the Scott Hall? I like.
We got receipts. We got receipts. We got
The Hugster.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to disagree with anything D-Style just said, but I didn't hear anyone refute the fact that Lomachenko and Ryan Garcia did not want to fight him. Now, I'd understand why Fortuna would fight anybody. A guy of Fortuna's marketability and status in the sport, he has to take any fight he can get against a name opponent, and he's a tough fighter. And one thing I said about the Fortuna fight, I've heard others say it too, is that could have been Ryan Garcia last Friday. You know, that could have been Devin Haney last Friday. But I've said it all along. You guys have heard me say it on this show that I've always felt Fortuna was a dark horse and a guy that a lot of people didn't want to fight. And credit to Jojo Diaz for taking that fight. But I don't think that, again, that refutes what I was saying as it relates to Ryan Garcia and Lomachenko. They both didn't want to fight him. I mean, Ryan Garcia beat Luke Campbell and won an interim title for the right to fight Devin Haney, and then didn't want to fight Devin Haney. Maybe it's a combination of his style. Maybe it's a combination of,
how about we just leave it up to the
fans? Or
fans?
Maybe does he draw, right? So are they avoiding him because of, the fighting potential, or is it because they know that he likely won't pull in the draw that they'd like him to?
Well, I mean,
because then everybody you just named, they'd be the one carrying the views, right?
I've got a lot of respect to the names that I'm gonna mention right now, right? But I don't think he's a less of a draw in the United States than Luke Campbell, which is the last guy that Ryan Garcia fought, and I don't think that he's a lesser name than a lot of the guys that you see on Lomachenko's record. It's not like Lomachenko's been fighting superstars. I've been to some of his fights. I mean, and let's face facts, Teofimo was nowhere near a superstar when he signed up to fight Lomachenko. He was a bigger name probably than Devin Haney. But look, I'm not saying Devin Haney should be feared or anything like that. I just find it interesting that these guys haven't signed up to fight him when they've been in the...
I'll say this real quickly before we move on. Haney's a free agent now, so he can make some fights happen. All these fights are possible now, whereas before there was promotional things in the way. Even with Lomachenko and all that stuff, like I don't think that Loma ducked him or anything like that. I just think that there was things get in the way. These fighters will fight anybody. That's just what they do for a living,
Well, look, the last poll ended with most people, about 60% felt the fight will happen. Okay, so it looks like most are feeling October 9th. We had a new poll. Is Haney the boogeyman of 135? Only 21 votes, so keep voting. And we'll see when we close this one. Big Dog Willie in the building. Thank you very much for the support, brother. So Gypsy Ducker contacted the bubonic plague, Black Death, fight cancel until May 2025. That may be the next talking point. But there we go. We will see. I just don't think those fights happen, and a lot of fights haven't happened at 135. So I just think it's an issue of circumstance, but maybe some people feel otherwise. Let me tell you something. I don't know, one of those votes is from H Money. He said yes. You know what I mean? So we'll see who else says what, all right? And all that good stuff. The voting's there. There we go. Hey, guys, I have a question for you guys. Oscar De La Hoya, all right? He's back, all right? The dude's back, okay? De La Hoya's back. Tell a friend, you know what I mean? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Okay? De La Hoya's back. Yo, I have an echo, guys. Everybody mute themselves, please. Yes? There we go. Thank you. I don't know what it was, but I got an echo. With that said, De La Hoya's back. He's going to be boxing on 8-round exhibition, 2-minute rounds, like a chick fight, as Eric Lorna likes to say. But, so 2 minutes, right? 8 rounds. He's going to be boxing Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort was fighting at 205 pounds when he was in the UFC. All right. He also fought at 185. This is a big dude. That's bigger than a light heavyweight in boxing. All right. Can Vitor Belfort pull off the upset against Oscar De La Hoya? Beeb, let's start with you.
I'm going with the upset here. I think Belfort knocks him out.
Whoa.
Too big, too strong. De La Hoya doesn't look good right now.
Man. He's too. What is it? He's too erratic, or you're talking physically? Doesn't physically look good?
Good physically. Doesn't look good. I was watching him on that Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing. He just didn't look right. Look pale. Look a little bloated. Not feeling it. Just not feeling it.
Oh, shit.
Belfort's
okay.
Belfort's going to knock him out.
So knock him out? Like smooth out or like?
Yeah, he's going to knock him smooth out. Could be a smelling salts.
Holy shit. Hey, what about you, Calix? How do you feel about it? Can an upset happen in this fight?
I gotta be honest. I don't know what Belfort is. I'm not a UFC guy. Don't watch it, so I can't comment on it. I got nothing. I don't know what Belfort is, dude.
I got you.
Go watch an episode of He-Man Masters of the Universe. He looks like He-Man.
Okay. What about you, Amilcar? How are you feeling about it? Can an upset happen in this one?
Without the hair.
Amilcar, can the upset happen in this one?
I think he's frozen.
Earth to Amilcar. Are you there, brother?
I think his screen froze on him, D-Style.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Let's go with Chief Funky. Chief Funky, can an upset happen in this fight?
Well, we've heard this a lot here on YouTube. D-Style, me and D-Style have heard this phrase a lot. Well, anything could happen. Anything's possible. I mean, yeah. I mean, it can happen because again, anything's possible. But I just feel like in a boxing match, I have to go with the Golden Boy, man. Even though he's been out of the ring a long time, Belfort, he's an MMA fighter. And I mean, I know he was known for the explosive hands and the knockouts and stuff like that. And I do think he does have some experience boxing in Brazil, but he ain't beating Oscar, man. I don't think so. Maybe he could land a big bomb, but Oscar's shown a pretty good chin throughout his whole career. So I'm going to have to roll with Oscar on this one, man. Until I see somebody knock him out completely, then I can't count him out, man. He's tough, man.
All right. What about you, Nancy? First, you got to sing us a Deloya, your favorite Deloya song first.
I was gonna say you forgot to say Grammy award-winning Oscar de la Hoya, right? I was so disappointed when he came out with a CD. I was mad. I never listened to a song.
It wasn't bad.
I never watched a video. I mean, he won a Grammy, right? So, but as a boxing fan, I was so angry. And it's been no secret that I grew up a De La Hoya fan, have always been a De La Hoya fan. And so I'm going to talk about my heart, and then I'm going to talk about my mind and who's voting for what. So the heart is voting for De La Hoya, right? I thought it was so sad, that interview that he made. He's on the couch talking about, just how really depressing this life he leads right now is for him, because he's not boxing, right? It's like his heart is yearning for a fight, and I want that for him. So I'm happy that this is happening, and I really, with all my heart, hope he wins. However, Belfort has been in the gym. De La Hoya hasn't, right? And one thing that I was watching a couple weeks ago, so Belfort went on TMZ. TMZ does the sports videos, and they did an interview with him, or he shared a video, and he was fanning out for De La Hoya. He kicked it off talking about how awesome it is, that he's coming up against De La Hoya, who has just went off on his accolades, and was saying, hey, the youth is going to get to see what it used to be and see these two great fighters. So I was like, dang, he's really excited to be fighting what sounded like one of his heroes. So am I going to watch? Probably, because it's De La Hoya. I think that my heart wants him to win, but man, dude's big. If you look at him, I mean, he's huge. The weight, the everything. I just don't see it.
Pause. That's fine. No, but here's what I'll say, though. Okay? Look.
Is Joe singing? Was someone singing?
No.
Oh.
But I'll say this, though. De La Hoya has nothing on Manny Pacquiao, bro. Nothing. Like sometimes when we touch, the feeling's just too much. Okay? But here's the thing. Oh, sad. I hope that's all he's got to do, bro. Just sing to Arrow. You're like, make his ears bleed. Equilibrium will be off. You know what I mean? Just serenade the dude, and you got it. But check it out. He wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It was okay, but it wasn't that bad. I don't think it was. Let me bust out with an album.
Did you have the CD?
No.
Come on now. No.
It wasn't bad.
Come on.
It wasn't bad.
This guy had. This guy was he's a New Kids on the Block guy. You know what I mean? He had De La Hoya's album.
I had it. It wasn't bad.
I got the MP3.
I had Shaq's album too. I had a lot of athletes.
You had the LimeWire download.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? I mean, it was better than Danny Garcia's rapping. Like, I'll say that.
There's
you know?
no doubt about
Not
that.
as good as Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
Max Kellerman's rapping's the best.
Yeah, of course.
Boom bap.
Look. Oh, man. Vitor Belfort's first combat sport, the first thing he ever practiced was boxing. Okay? That's the first thing he learned at age of 12. If he wasn't from Brazil, where Vale Tudo, the home of Vale Tudo, which is what MMA is, this guy would have been a boxer. Okay? If he was from any other country other than Brazil, he would have been a professional boxer as a living. There's a reason no one stood and traded hands with Vitor Belfort in the UFC. Nobody. Even the fights he lost, dudes took him down. They used kicks. Even Anderson Silva, who beat Chavez Jr., by the way, kicked him. He didn't trade hands with him. He kicked him with a crane kick, by the way. Crazy shit. Like straight out of the Karate Kid movie. But he did it. Right? Coco the Don, I appreciate the support, brothers. Allegedly can do no wrong in my book. Coco the Don Boxing Channel. Right? Let me tell you something, man. I remember watching De La Hoya on Sábado Gigante singing mariachi. Bro, I've heard better mariachis like when I just go out to eat over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the fuck that was. Okay? He's not that good. His voice is crackling. I'm like, is this guy serious right now?
So what did he sing? What I mean, well, mariachi, that's all I do know. But what did he? I guess the one time that when I learned about this, listened to like 5 seconds and got mad. It sounded very. Oh, someone posted a video too. It sounded very like Enrique Iglesias-esque.
Right. Like a bootleg
Right?
version, right?
Yeah.
Like a bootleg version. of
Yeah.
Ricky
like
Martin.
the swap meet version of Enrique.
He was like a Ricky. He was like a shorter Ricky Martin. You know what I mean? Like kick your ass. You know what I mean? Like it's just that's pretty much, you know. And you know,
sure.
it is what it is. But it is what it is. I'll say this though. My answer is yes. Don't be surprised if Oscar De La Hoya gets. I don't know if he's gonna get stopped like that because Chief Funky's right. He does have a chin, but they might stop the fight. To be honest with you, okay. Okay, so that's all I got to say about that.
Cold. It's not cold.
It's going to sleep.
Yeah. Let's hit it out. One more topic, guys. One more topic, and then we'll get ready for overtime. Here's my question. Well, we've all talked about the fight to death, but here's my specific question. Me and Calix touched on it yesterday. He could kind of provide more on it if he wants, but and any general final thoughts you have about the fight, feel free. Here's my question.
Can I say one thing about the fight real quick?
Castano. We all know he's from Argentina. Right? Is he being overlooked here? Because everyone's saying it's a good fight. It's going to be a close fight. But like 95% of people are picking Jermell Charlo to win. It's not like I hear a lot of people call it a 50-50 fight, but it's not really being picked 50-50. You know what I mean? Like I'm seeing entire panels. They're all picking Charlo. Maybe it's a conventional pick to make. Maybe nobody wants to pull the trigger, but is it because maybe he's from Argentina? Like if he was a Mexican, like will more people be picking Castano to win? If he was Puerto Rican, will more people be picking Castano to win? If he was Mexican American or like Honduran American, would more people be picking him to win? If he was if he was from England, if he wasn't Castano but Castano from England, you know what I mean? Castle from England, will more people be picking him to win? Is it the fact that he's from a country that's that all their fighters have to prove themselves? Monsoon had to prove himself. Like more so, like for one step, any other fighter in any nation needs to take. They need to leap. They need to take a big leap for every step they make. Sergio Martinez obviously picked, in my opinion, outboxed Williams, and people were still picking Williams to beat him in the rematch, and he knocked him out. Right? They were still picking Paddock to beat him, knocked him out. Like, he had to prove himself. You know what I mean? I feel like Matisse spent a large portion of his career just proving to people he's a good fighter. Maidana, nobody was picking him to against Broner. They were all saying it's going to be a tough fight. Few people picked him to win. Everybody laughed at the fact that he could challenge Mayweather and gave Mayweather one of the toughest fights of his career. Now, let me read this before I go to your milk card. Long live boxing. Respect to the panel and the entire chat. Which division frustrates you more, 135 or 147 pounds, due to the number of big fights getting made? To me, without a shadow of fact, it's 147 pounds because Crawford-Spence was the fight to make, and the fight didn't happen. The panel, feel free to answer that question as well, along with this question. Okay, so Castano. What do you make of a milk card? Does him being from Argentina have a little bit to do with the fact that nobody wants to pull the trigger and pick him, and that he's been overlooked?
It's got a lot to do with it, D-Style. I mean, as countries go in our continents, if depending where you are culturally, it's either our continent or it's South America. But America, you can't get further away in America as major countries go than Argentina. It's literally winter there right now because it's summer where we are right here. That's how far Argentina is from where we live in the northern part of this hemisphere. And yeah, I mean, what happens in Argentina doesn't really get reported up here in North America. Doesn't really get reported in basketball. They shocked the world when Ginobili led that team and they won the Olympic gold. You guys probably remember this, right? Carlos Monzon was unheralded until he became something. Chino Maidana was unheralded until he became something. You could go on and on. Matisse was unheralded until he became something, and Steve Kim gave him the nickname of the Machine. You don't hear a lot about Argentina or Argentinians, and let's be honest, he should really be 18-0. I thought he beat Erislandy Lara. Maybe I'm in the minority here on this panel, but I thought he won that fight.
I agree with that.
I think, and that was an impressive win. I mean, to me, he took it to Erislandy Lara. The problem that he faces, though, is that he hasn't fought a lot in the United States. He's fought Teixeira, he's fought Wale Matoso, and he's fought Lara in that win. And other than that, he's mostly fought in France and in Argentina and when he was in the United States on very low-level undercard. So people have not seen him. But I'll tell you this about Castano. Argentina's produced a lot of great fighters, number one. Number two, he's the son of a fighter. And that's usually significant when it comes to world champion boxers. Not so much when it comes to guys like Chavez Jr. necessarily and others we've talked about, but I saw his father run 6 miles at his age on that episode of the documentary. I don't know if you guys saw that. He clearly comes from an athletic background, and his father is like fully invested in his boxing career, and I believe his brother's a fighter as well. So, Diesel, I'm one of those guys who's 50-50, but leaning towards Charlo. And the reason I have is I just don't have all of the data. I don't have the empirical evidence, as my brother Joe Habib likes to say, because we just haven't seen him enough. But he does definitely have a good shot based on what I've seen. And we'll get into this more on overtime.
Absolutely. Calix. Remember, people looked at Maidana like, who the hell is this dude, before he fought Victor Ortiz, right? But what do you make of it, brother? And if you want to touch on the question from the super chat as well, you can as well.
Yeah, real quick on that, 147 for me, because 135 still has young fighters, very young division, and there's a lot of promise there. So it's still time for these guys to develop and fight each other. 147's been very frustrating. G-Funky's touched on that as well. Very frustrating division to follow. As far as this fight, we spoke on it yesterday. I kind of disagree with the fact that a lot of people aren't showing Castano respect. I think a lot of the people who know what they're looking are showing respect. I see a lot of boxing journalists. I see a lot of people. This panel is showing Castano respect, and the betting odds. Vegas is showing him respect. B might be able to look this up right now. My side is down, but last night when we talked about it, it was down to plus 176, Castano. So this is getting close to 55-45 territory, to where Vegas is showing him respect. And what they're seeing is if his chin holds up, this guy is a very active fighter. If he can get 60 to 70 punches off against a more economical Charlo, he's going to rack up some rounds. Now, the thing is, the big question is when Charlo catches him, pot shots him coming in, takes a half step back, Will he be able to slow him down, put him down on the canvas a couple of times, and even it up on the scoring? But Castano, man, he's not just one of those guys that throws stuff at the wall. He's not one of those pressure fighters. He's very skilled in getting on the inside. You saw it with the Teixeira fight. He gets on the inside, lets his hands go, has a lot of snap on his punches. The only worry that I have is he squares up on the inside, and Charlo's going to catch him with those shots on the inside. And that's where the big question is. Will Castano's chin hold up? And not all roads to we talked about this last night. Not all roads to undisputed are the same. Charlo had a much tougher road to this undisputed fight than Castano did. He has a lot more experience. He's a guy very much looked like he's in the zone mentally right now. And that Tony Harrison lost in 2018, I think, got this guy right. If he had not lost that fight in 2018, I may be picking the upset right here. But I think his head's right. He's not going to take this guy lightly. I think he shows Castano a lot of respect. He's coming in with his head right here, and I think he's going to win this fight. But it's going to be close, man. It's going to be close. I got Charlo close.
All right. And Nancy, same question to you. And if you want to touch on 135, 147, which division frustrates you the most?
Yeah, 147, because I definitely agree with what everybody was saying earlier. I think there's more opportunity. There's kind of more hope in the 135 division. On Castano, I agree with all of you. I had a discussion with somebody about this. Specifically, Argentina fighters, man, they're tough. You think back to like Maidana and Matisse. I remember watching, whether it was a documentary, it was a show, talking about how they were roommates, in like the slums of Argentina, and everything they had to go through, living in like a closet space, the both of them. I mean, something crazy, right? So there's respect for what they have to go through. Yes, we have, like, in the United States, definitely, right? We have our challenging areas within every state, but it's hard to compare to what I remember seeing in that documentary. So, there's I think they're underestimated. I really think that this is going to be a close fight. Now, my Texas heart, of course, is rooting for Charlo, but I think this is going to be a close fight. I even really think that Castano has a chance here, and it'll be close. I think it'll be really, really, really close.
All right, well said, well said. Chief Funky, same to you. And 147 and 135, which division frustrates you the most? And also, what do you make about the Castano question, brother?
147, by far one of the worst divisions in boxing, no doubt about it. But as far as Castano goes, I don't know if it's because he's from Argentina. I don't think that's it. I think it's just more just a lot of people haven't seen him fight. He hasn't been on major boxing events, just only a couple times. And even in his last fight against Teixeira, that was on the zone. I mean, who knows how many people saw him fight then. So I really think that has more to do with it than anything, of people overlooking him. But even if you do go back, I mean, just watch that Teixeira fight, and you'll see that he's got a style that could give Charlo some fucking trouble, man.
100%.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
no doubt about it, man.
That's where I'm coming from. Yep.
The thing is, G Funky, I agree with you, but one of the reasons we don't see him in the United States is because he's from Argentina. Argentina is not Mexico. It's not right beside us. A lot of these Argentinian fighters fight just as much, if not more, in Europe than they do in the United States.
Yeah, just exposure. Yeah, he's got to get more exposure. But I feel like anybody that goes back and just looks at the fights that are available, that are there, you could see that his style can give Charlo some trouble. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I said that in my prediction. If you guys would go ahead and check that out, G Funky Boxing here on YouTube, you can check the prediction video I dropped. So, yeah, man, I don't think that's fully it, but it could be some, But I like the fight, man. I'm excited. Undisputed. I always love undisputed fights.
Joe Habib. So 135, 147. Which one frustrates you the most? That's number one. Second, what do you make about my question regarding Castano?
147 without a doubt, because that super fight with Spence and Crawford hasn't happened yet. That's very aggravating. I disagree with you. I just think that Charlo has looked so dominant lately. He's coming off of 3 impressive knockouts, 2 against champions. So he's just looked very dominant. He's got a highlight reel of knockouts. You can even look at the Erickson Lubin one-punch knockout. I mean, the guy is a very powerful, dangerous puncher. The big thing here, too, I have to say, is the size. There's a pretty substantial size difference. Castano is not the biggest guy in the world, so he's going to have to get in range to land those shots. But Charlo definitely is going to have the height and reach advantage, and he can use that height and reach advantage very well. He's very versatile. I think the difference between Charlo and his brother is I think this Charlo, Jamel, is a better inside fighter. He's more aggressive. He applies pressure better than Jamal. He's a better finisher as well. The way he throws that right hand over the top, the way he can like thread that needle, if you give them a little space, he can change the trajectory of that right hand and really thread the needle with it. Like you can see him the way he just kind of pulls it back and just loops it right over the top. It's a beauty to watch him get that shot off when he's up close. Castano is going to go in and out. He's more of an ambush type guy, but he does, plant himself in the pocket a little bit, and that's when he'll trade occasionally. So there are times when he will stop and try to get his stuff off and fight a little bit on the inside up close. But I think as Kalik said, Jamel is really good at timing guys. He's a very, very underrated counterpuncher, right? So I think the versatility of Charlo here, being able to be successful on the outside, being able to hold his own on the inside, being pretty strong on the inside as well. I think Castano can provide some pesky moments for Charlo early, but I think because Charlo has fight changing power with that right hand, I think he can land that right hand and change the fight right then and there when he lands it flush. And I think the fight will be interesting while it lasts, but I see Charlo, catching up to Castano eventually, because Castano is eventually going to run out of ring. He can't move the whole fight. Eventually, he's going to get pinned up in the corner or pinned up against the ropes, and that's when Charlo is relentless, right? That's when he becomes vicious, and I think he'll land that right hand, and I think he'll catch Castano late in the fight and stop him in the 10th round. That's my pick.
All right. Hey, guys, I want to thank everybody that tuned in today. Great stuff. Great show. Last minute roundtable. Okay, I want to thank Maestro, Calix, Nancy, Joe Habib, Chief Monkey for being here and giving us their thoughts. Make sure you catch Mano a Mano with Maestro and Kenny every Monday. Make sure you catch myself and Calix every Wednesday with Power Punches on his channel. Make sure you catch Ringside Reporter every Sunday. Joe Habib and Eric. Catch Nancy every Wednesday on Women Crushing It Wednesdays. Okay, that's on In the Ring with Christine. Make sure you tune in to, go ahead and put the link again, Maestro, but everybody click on the link, okay, in the chat to go ahead and join us for Round Table Overtime for whoever wants to join, and for any callers and stuff like that. Make sure you let us know. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here, guys. Click on that link right there. Peace.